Welcome to How to Succeed in Business During a Pandemic. I'm Wendy Lally, your host, and I'm delighted that you could join us today. The premise of the show is really very simple. It's a 15-minute interview with entrepreneurs and professionals who have not only been managing to survive, but actually thrive even during this pandemic. And we thought it would be interesting to have them come and tell their stories so other people that are in a similar situation could get some inspiration and maybe some ideas that would help them. My own business is I'm a copywriter, I'm a marketing strategist. And so this is kind of a natural fit for me because some of the things I do with my clients are to help them communicate what they do to their potential clients. And that's kind of what I'm doing today on this show. Today, I am very excited because I have asked an old friend to be my guest. He is an incredibly creative and talented person. He's not only an innovative entrepreneur, but he's also a fine artist, a photographer, studied hypnotism, and is a neurofeedback provider. And for those of you who don't know what neurofeedback is, he will explain that in the course of this discussion. But right now, I'm going to introduce him. His name is Ryan Roessler, and he is the co-founder of Chicago Mind Solutions. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Why don't you begin by telling us how you became a neurofeedback provider?
All right. Well, for 25 years, I was a commercial photographer. I was nationally recognized. I had a studio in New York and in Chicago, and things were going along well until 9/11. And 9/11 really stopped the advertising business for a year. And at that point, digital photography was coming in and stock photography was coming in, and frankly, that way of life was over. So I trained myself for a job that was really no longer needed. So somebody came by about a year later who needed a headshot. And she was a copywriter such as yourself. And at night, she would leave her office in the advertising agency, walk across the street to her office and become a hypnotherapist. And I said, well, that's very interesting. How does one do that? And there was a school in the suburbs of Chicago. I studied for a year and then hung my shingle out where at my studio. So there were two separate entrances. I had one entrance for hypnosis and I had one entrance for photography. And slowly it was 80% photography, 10% hypnosis, and that shifted. So it was 80% hypnosis, 10% photography. And then another woman came in for a photograph and she did neurofeedback. And so I said, well, I'm very intrigued by this. How could I work? And so I cut my photo fee and went by and had my brain hooked up, so to speak. And she said, you have no idea what an unusual brain you have. And from that point on, I was hooked. I had been dealing with ADD, attention deficit disorder, my whole life. Now, ADD is good when you're a creative person, which I was, but it's very hard to do paperwork and what's the right word? Detail work. So after 6 sessions, I felt so much better. Before that, I could do like a half-hour paperwork, then I'd have to get up, walk around for 45 minutes, go back down. After that, I could do paperwork all day. Didn't want to do paperwork all day, but I could. And then I realized, this is something the whole world should know about. So I founded Chicago Mind Solutions probably 10 years ago at this point. I met with my current partner about 7 years ago. And we now have an office in Chicago, and we just opened up an office in Milwaukee. And it's amazing what it can do. What they found out, everybody is familiar with EKG, reading your heart rate.
Right.
EEG reads your brain waves. It's been around since the 1970s. And they've tested this on both genders, and all age groups. And they divided the brain into 21 sections. And they figured out what is normal for each section at each age. And you can retrain the brain. And if people go on my website, Chicago Mind Solutions, you can see how we've helped professional football players, people with concussions, people with ADD, and it's a life-changing technology.
I'm going to jump in here a little bit,
Sure.
Ryan. I've actually worked with Ryan as a marketer, so I do know a little bit about neurofeedback and Chicago Mind Solutions. And I have to tell you, I'm a big skeptic when it comes to anything that isn't, from the Mayo Clinic or whatever. But I know from my own experience and that of family members that this works. And not only do I know it, but the United States Army, the US Marines, lots of groups know that this is a tremendous way to handle depression, ADHD, a number of different ailments that affect the brain. So
concussions, it's particularly good for.
it's not an experimental thing anymore. I mean, it's been around since the 1950s, 60s,
70s. Yeah.
What I'm most intrigued about, though, and specifically for this show, aside from the wonders of neurofeedback that you just described, but I also wanted you to talk about the business of being a professional, because so many people in this pandemic that we've faced, whose businesses involve face-to-face contact with people, have been incredibly hard hit by how to make a living when you can't meet people face to face. And I know that you and Ari, your partner, have managed to not only come out of this, but have actually opened a new office during this time. And I would love for you to talk about first how you built the business, because I know that the I don't know, tagline or claim is 30 patients in 30 days that you managed to do. Right. But beyond that, I mean, you really went beyond that. So would you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. The most important thing in today's business is having an internet presence. So getting a good website is vitally important. I mean, it's not the same as just having a brochure or having a business card. Everybody needs a website just as everybody in business needs a business card or brochure. But that advertising now is almost 80% over the internet. So you need to find a good internet provider. You need to find a good webmaster. You need to find somebody who is honest, because in this day and age, a lot of people are making money just promising things they can't deliver. So finding a quality person, find somebody who can do it, and then talk to 3 of their clients. But I would say most of the quality is we have a quality webmaster who works with us to get new business. And so when you get on the internet, we're always in one of the top 3 people, because if you're below the scroll on the internet, you might as well not be there. And if you're,
I'm sorry, Ryan, but I'd like all of you to think about how you get information for anything. The first thing any of us do, let's face it, is we do a Google search. Right. And we put in whatever questions we have, or we put in whatever interest we have, and what comes up on that screen is a result of our search. Those are the things we open first. And I think the percentage is 95% of people, of the first or second listing is opened by 95% of the people going on that search. Correct. So it's really important to be at the top of those levels.
And there's 2 ways to go about doing it. And one is called pay-per-click. And this is where Google makes most of its money. What they'll do is they'll go to 5 florists in the area. I'm making this up. And so to be at the top position, you have to pay $5 per click. In other words, any person who hits your site, Google charges you. So if that person's paying $5 and you want to be on the top, then you have to pay $5.25 or $5.50. Now I'm coming up with a little higher than that, but each one, some of the clicks could be $7. And this scares a lot of people off, but we spend $1,000 a month on our SEO and pay per click. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. And Google does two things. It has little spiders, as they call, that go through the internet searching for what's appropriate, what's relevant, and not. And then also they charge, they charge you for where you want to be. And so we pay our webmaster for the SEO, making search engine optimization, making your website so it's as optimal as possible. And then we spend $1,000, and that $1,000 gives us really one client per day. It more than pays for itself.
And, even though people have spent years studying medicine and dentistry and all the special healthcare services you offer, it's still a business. You still have to get people to come through the door or to call you up and make an appointment. And if they don't, it's tough to support a family. So that's why I wanted Ryan to come on, because I know that a lot of people are really feeling the hurt that the pandemic has put us through. How about opening the office in Milwaukee? How did that happen?
Well, we intended to open up the office before COVID. We didn't open up the office during COVID. So we had already signed the lease, the 5-year lease, before COVID had hit us. But what's happening is with a business, you saturate the area. There's only so much more you can do in that area. And my goal is to have 5 clinics in 5 years. We're in the North Shore of Chicago. We're in North Brook. And we hope in a year or so, we'll open up one in Hinsdale, the western suburbs. And then I'm thinking we might open up one in Green Bay and open up one in Madison. Because now that we've learned all the different rigmaroles, all the different laws and changes, Wisconsin, is a good place for us. The reason we open up in Wisconsin is there's virtually no competition. So there are numerous neurofeedback providers in Chicago, but there's almost none in Wisconsin. We had people driving down from Wisconsin to visit us. So we realized it would behoove us to open up a space in Wisconsin, and here we are.
Well, with that, we're going to have to close this up because our 15 minutes has come and gone.
All right.
Ryan, I definitely want to have you come back. Ryan has another business, which I'm also thrilled to be part of, actually. It's called the National Neurofeedback Network. And it's a way for patients to connect with neurofeedback providers all over the country and providers to find new clients. So we'll discuss that in another show later on. But I think these services are very, very important because it's more and more key for you to find the right professional for you, whatever your problem is, whether you need a lawyer or an accountant or a doctor, but certainly for something like neurofeedback, which is not everyone does or knows about. And having a resource that fills that gap for you, I think is crucial. So we'll talk more about that later on in the coming year. And I can't wait to have you back again and tell people about the network.
I look forward to it.
Good. And I hope that you'll come back next week. We're going to have another guest on. I'm not sure, I'm going through the calendar in my head, I'm not sure who's coming up next, but I'm sure it'll be an interesting person. I know it will be an interesting person, and who will hopefully teach you more about how to survive during a pandemic. Until then, please stay safe and stay well. And thank you for coming. Bye-bye.